Hey everybody, this is TJMan461, and today I'm going to look at the Goosebumps TV show. Now yes, I know I said I'd make the top 5 best death battles, and that is still happening. I just want that list to be really good, so I'm making it later. Anyway, the reason I'm looking at this 90s cheese fest is because while in quarantine, bored out of my mind, and finally getting Netflix, I saw that Goosebumps was on Netflix, so I wanted to relive the nostalgia and binge the show. I loved the Goosebumps books as a kid. These books and I Ever Won't Be Kid were the only reason I read books. I also watched the TV series once in a while as a kid, so I have knowledge of that as well. So far, I'm quite a few episodes in, and let me get something straight. I love cheesy horror, such as Leprechaun, the Banana Splits movie, Chucky, all those gems. So this show is right up my alley. The episode I'm looking at today is Night of the Living Dummy 2. Even though there wasn't a dummy episode before this. Okay, the reason why is because the first book doesn't actually fully feature Slappy, but the second book does. So it all makes sense. Anyway, why don't we get into the actual review? The episode begins with a girl named Amy having a family night with her sister Sarah, her brother Jed, and her mom and dad. What I love about Goosebumps is that some of the snarky dialogue makes me genuinely laugh out loud.
And Dad's getting his hair just right.
Anyway, once it's Amy's turn, she takes out her dummy and begins to start her show, but its head pops off, cutting her act short. Now, the acting in Goosebumps is subpar. So far, there are only a few episodes I've seen that have good acting. However, I digress, since this is a 90s TV show for kids, and we know how the 90s were. So I'll give it a pass. In this episode, though, the acting is pretty okay. Amy's actor does a good job of showing how she feels that she's the middle child and doesn't have as much freedom as her siblings. And how she's affected by, people not believing her about Slappy. After her act gets ruined, she complains that her dad said he was going to get her a new dummy. And he did! She now has Slappy. She takes him out and also reads a note that has a weird language on it. What I don't get about this part is that she read the entire thing. I know it's for plot, but if it were me, I'd read the first 2 words and be like, nope, I don't know what this says, and put it back. Anyway, as we go through the episode, Slappy does some mean stuff that everyone thinks Amy did. It gets so bad that her parents suggest that they get her help from a therapist. Some things Slappy does are messing up Sarah's painting and roasting Amy's entire family.
Well, what did you think of Dad's song?
That was your dad? Well, what a relief. I thought the cat got stuck in the dishwasher.
Puppy.
And how about that mother of yours? She went to a store and asked the clerk if he had anything her size, and he told her to try the freight elevator. Well, if you're such a booger brain, you tried to grow an eggplant by burying a chicken. You call yourself an artist? Why don't you give up brushes and try using a roller?
My favorite scene. After these 2 mishaps, she decides to lock him up. However, the next day, her friend's sister gets Slappy, and he says mean things, causing her friend to be angry with her. Then, Slappy grabs the girl's hand and responds with pretty bad acting.
Hey, he won't let me go.
This causes her friend to leave and not wanting to talk to her anymore. Her parents begin to confront her about what they think is her behavior, and then they throw in this little line.
You can't keep blaming a doll for things you don't want to take responsibility for.
It is almost as if this is completely based on an 80s slasher. Anyway, after some discussion, Amy goes away to her room, since no one will believe her about Slappy. Now, this is done in a lot of Goosebumps books. Half the time, if people believed the main character, the book or show would be finished in a few minutes. Seems like people have trust issues in the Goosebumps universe. Later that night, after the big discussion, Slappy gets up to attack Amy's parents, who are still on the couch for some reason. He picks up the dad's guitar, but Amy stops him before he can do it, and breaks the guitar. Her parents talk to her in the morning about the therapist thing I mentioned earlier. It also goes over once again that her parents don't believe her about Slappy. Later that day, after getting ignored by her friend, she throws Slappy into the sewer. Slappy somehow makes it back into the house, and we see him in full action, standing and everything. Slappy explains that because she read the cursed words, she is now his slave, and he can make her do whatever he wants. Yeah, sounds kinda kinky. As he's talking, she throws a pillow at him and he completely dodges it. It is pretty hilarious, actually. She then tackles him and her sister walks in. Now imagine walking in on your sister laying on top of her dummy. It'd look pretty weird in my opinion. In the climax, Slappy chases them and they soon begin to fight back. They face off in the living room until Slappy is finally tackled by an unknown person and gets his head cracked open, defeating him. Now, the weird thing about this is that Slappy was tackled before, but didn't take any damage. Heck, he was dropped in a sewer. But now he suddenly gets destroyed and his head breaks like glass. It doesn't really make kind of weird continuity there. Anyway, they think it was Jed who saved them, but it was actually, spoiler alert,
It's good to be back in the family again.
and yeah, that's the twist ending. It's really weird because the dummy wasn't alive before, but now he suddenly is. Did Slappy cause this? Did the spell said in the beginning make Slappy and him alive? I know it's supposed to be a twist, and it is pretty good, but it's just confusing on how and why it happened. Overall, this is my favorite episode of Goosebumps out of the episodes I've seen so far, and for good reason. The acting is passable, except for that one girl's little sister. The plot was great, and it has great pace, and gives plenty of screen time of Slappy moving around, not too much of him moving, and not too little. Slappy is really what makes this episode great. His one-liners and jokes are my favorite part.
Looking for somebody? I've seen better swings on playgrounds. Amy, I can hurt you and your family in 100 ways.
The scare factor is also great, even for a kid's show. As a kid, I'd be pretty scared. Obviously, nowadays, I wasn't scared, but I can see how it could be scary for children, which is what its goal is, so I applaud it for that. I also really like how Slappy looks in this. I know I keep talking about him, but I just love him. I can't help it. If there's anything I disliked, it would probably be the twist ending, and some other small things. The twist ending, like I said before, didn't make much sense. Another thing is that sometimes when Slappy talked or laughed, his mouth wouldn't move.
Guess who?
I'm not sure if this was intentional or not. Also, the little sister sucked at acting. These were just small things I didn't like. Overall, I think this was a great episode. It put the Slappy from the book on TV for all the 90s kids to see and wet their pants to. And it did a great job of it. You are a true dummy if you don't enjoy this episode. I'm just kidding. I love you all, no matter what. Well, that's my review. I hope you enjoyed, and tell me what other episodes you want me to review from the series, because it's honestly a blast to watch all these episodes. I also may at one point make the top 5 best and worst Goosebumps episodes, or even books, if I can find them. Like, comment, and subscribe, and have a good... What the? Well, I have 100 subscribers?